stop thinking and just answer. Probably your initial immediate answer was infinity. And even if it was not, you're probably the first thought when you first saw this question and your brain just thought of infinity. This is because here 1 by 0, after doing lots and lots of limits, you have simply learned that 1 by 0 is infinity. 1 by infinity is just 0. But even this simple question can trick your brain, because in fact the answer is not infinity. In fact, this limit does not even have an answer because this limit simply does not exist. Now, why does it not exist? Didn't we learn that 1 by 0 as x tends to 0 or any number tends to 0 on the bottom, shouldn't that just be infinity? Well, before you learned limits, or not before you learned limits, in pre-calculus, you've learned that the left hand limit should be equal to the right hand limit, equal to the function at that point, at that limit, and only then will the limit be continuous and valid. So, as you can see, x approaches 0. So we need to take two cases. One for the left hand limit, which means the number is approaching from the left hand of the 0, which is negative 0.0000, so on, and in the end you have 1. Technically there is no end, but let's not go too far. And this is the left hand limit. And for the right hand limit, it's just a positive version. It's 0.001. Now you need to be careful when some terms, some variables tends to 0, because the left hand limit will be negative and the right hand limit will be positive. But for other numbers such as 1 and 2, here the left hand limit of 1, that means from the left the number approaching it will be 0.99999, which is in fact positive, and from the right it will be 1.000 and so on and 1. So this is 0 is very interesting and very special when it comes to limits. Now let's see what happens when the x approaches to 0 minus. This is the notation for left hand limit. You'll have 1 by x, which is 1 by 0 minus. And we know that this is 1 by 0 minus. And you also know that anything negative, 1 by negative number or anything divided by a negative number, that minus sign will just go up. So this is just minus 1 by 0. Well, as you can see, 0 plus is just a negative version of 0 minus. So this will be 0 plus. And here, now you can use the limit that you know. 1 by 0 is infinity. So we have infinity and minus. And simply just think about it. Negative 1 by 2, this is negative. Negative 1 by 0.1, well, this is negative 10. And as you keep on decreasing this denominator, the numerator will get larger and larger, but towards infinity. So it will tend to negative infinity. Now for the right hand limit, so as x tends to 0 plus 1 by x, this will be 1 by 0 plus, and simply this will be infinity. Because of the same logic, 1 by 0.000 smaller number, the numerator gets larger and larger and tends to infinity. So as you can see, the left hand limit gives us negative infinity, the right hand limit gives us infinity. Since they are not equal, we can conclude that this limit simply does not exist. And you can also look at the graph for 1 by x. Just put in y equals to 1 by x and you'll have this graph over here. You'll have this and you'll also have it like this. As x goes to infinity, this y goes to 0. And in reverse, when x goes to 0, as you can see, this gets larger and larger and goes to infinity. Now, this is for positive numbers. This is for numbers that are slightly bigger than 0. And this is 0 plus. As x tends to 0 plus, you can see y approaches to infinity, because here y is positive for first and second quadrant. Now look at this part of the graph. So this is for negative numbers. As x tends to 0 from the negative side, that means it keeps on decreasing, but without being 0 or being positive. Simply when this approaches 0 minus negative 0.0001, this graph, this right here, reaches to negative infinity, because y, or the y-axis, is negative for the third and fourth quadrant. So this arrow points down, going towards negative infinity. This goes infinity, and as x tends to 0 right here, you can't really know from the graph, will it be infinity or negative infinity. Now for some functions, simply like this, and let's say the number approaches this right here, this point, you can conclude that here, boom, that is the limit, because there is no discontinuity, there is no left hand limit being not equal to right hand limit. But in the case of 1 by x, there is inequality that exists, so we have concluded that this limit simply does not exist. If you guys learned something new, please like and subscribe. Thank you.